but to understand where we all come from. That's what's critical. The story, for example, is I heard Maddie singing about the Scottsboro Boys and the active involvement of those who fought against racism in this country for so many years reminded me of the story of Rosa Parks. Now, that's a famous story, of course, and you'd say that's one story the kids do learn about in school, but actually, they don't learn it properly as it happened. I remember when Rosa Parks died a few years ago, and Democracy Now! Raced down to Washington because she was the first African-American woman to lay in state at the Capitol Rotunda. Then her body was brought to a Washington church, and thousands came out. And we went to interview people, why we were there, why they were there. And we were outside because it's often most interesting to be outside. And we talked to a young African-American student, a college freshman. She said she'd emailed her professors and said, I won't be in class today, I'm going to get an education. And she came to Rosa Parks' memorial service. And the way the media got it wrong is they said Rosa Parks was a tired seamstress. She was no troublemaker. Rosa Parks was a first-class troublemaker. Rosa Parks knew exactly what she was doing when she sat down on that bus, December 1st, 1955 in Montgomery, and refused to get up when a white bus driver says to get up for a white male passenger. In fact, she knew exactly what she was doing when she did it before, and before that she had done it many times, as other young women had. But you never know the magic moment when it will come. But if you are a part of laying the foundation, of being part of those movements, you will help determine history. And I think that's what young people learn when they learn the truth about history and about activists that the media so denigrates. What could be more noble than dedicating your life to making the world a better place? Rosa Parks was the secretary of the local NAACP. She worked under E.D. Nixon. He came out of radical labor politics. He had been organizing the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters with A. Philip Randolph. They knew exactly what they were doing. She was trained at the Highlander Center, white and black together, right? To learn how to most effectively, strategically challenge the segregation of the South. And this was her moment. That was December 1st, 1955. Her friend, activist Joanne Robinson, a teacher, started handing out mimeograph copies that night to start the bus boycott. And December 5th, the Montgomery Improvement Association has their meeting, and they choose as their leader to lead the bus boycott a young minister who just come into town, Dr. Martin Luther King. Rosa Parks helped to launch Dr. Martin Luther King. And to show how brave she was, just go back a few months. And a number of you may well remember this and have worked to mobilize people against what happened that summer of 1955. Emmett Till, 14-year-old boy from Chicago. His mother sends him to get out of the city for the summer to be with his aunt and uncle and cousins in Money, Mississippi. And a white mob lynches him, drags him out of bed at night, and he ends up in the bottom of the Tallahatchie River, this young African-American boy. And his mother, Mamie Till, did something incredibly brave. When his body was dredged up and sent back to Chicago, she said she wanted the casket open for the wake and the funeral. She wanted the world to see the ravages of racism, the brutality of bigotry. And thousands streamed by his casket and saw him in Jet magazine and other black publications, took photographs of his distended, mutilated head, and they were published. And they were etched into the history and consciousness of this country. Mamie Till had something very important to teach the press of today. Show the pictures. Show the images. Could you imagine if for just 1 week we saw the images of war in this country, really saw them, from Iraq to Afghanistan, If every surviving newspaper above the fold had the photograph and the story every day for a week, the top stories of every newscast, every single tweet, every single Facebook page for 1 week, we saw the images of war. The babies dead on the ground, the women with their legs blown off by cluster bombs, the soldiers dead and dying. For just 1 week. Americans are a compassionate people. They would say no. War is not the answer to conflict in the 21st century. I'll just end by going back to World War II, to brave souls like the people being honored here and every year, whose memory you keep alive and in an honest media would be told over and over again. But World War II, Hans and Sophie Scholl of the White Rose Collective. They weren't Jewish, they were German Christians, but they thought, what can we do in the face of the Nazi atrocity? And together with their professor, they and other workers and students, they started to distribute pamphlets so the Germans would never be able to say we didn't know. And they made a series of 6 pamphlets, and on the 4th pamphlet were written across the top, "We will not be silent." Hans and Sophie Scholl and their professor were captured by the Gestapo. They were charged, they were tried, they were convicted, and they were beheaded. But that philosophy, that motto, that has also been the motto of ALBA, of the Abraham Lincoln Brigade Archive and all the people that bring the history forward, that motto should be the Hippocratic oath of the media today. We will not be silent. Democracy Now!
Thank you, Amy.